So I'm just here with Tom, who did the Harbour Club. Oh, not that long ago, actually, was it? That you were.
It was beginning of August or end
Yeah,
of August. Yeah, end
yeah.
of August.
So for a frame of reference, that's only about 3 months ago. So not long at all. Yeah, but you've done a couple of deals since doing the Harbour Club. Interestingly, you were just explaining that you'd done an LBO, an online LBO course before doing the Harbour Club, and had been kind of struggling a little bit to find good quality opportunities.
Yeah,
Yeah. So and yeah,
definitely.
maybe just explain that again.
Yeah, of course. I had a structure which I thought made perfect sense. I did the course. It was a good course. I wouldn't knock it.
Hmm.
I know how to do an LBO, but I couldn't
Yeah.
find businesses that actually met the right criteria. And I was getting lots of people who were genuinely interested in doing something with me that I couldn't LBO. So that's why I came on Harbour Club. I booked it.
Mhm.
I think I booked it about 2 weeks before I attended.
Right.
Came along, came straight out the gates really after Harbour Club with a massive arsenal, a load of different methods I could use to work with the sorts of businesses that actually been turning up. So it was really
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned a recruitment company. I'm guessing recruitment companies would be quite hard to LBO because there's no assets. Maybe a debtor's ledger, but then that's your future
that's
cash
right.
flow.
Yeah.
So yeah. So tell us about the recruitment company that you found.
So I found a recruitment company across in the Northwest. I did the deal with them about 3, 4 weeks ago. We're still kind of running through the due diligence, getting the cash flow sorted. It was a really interesting one because the business fundamentally was sound. It could generate quite a lot of profit. The problem it had was it was absolutely swamped in debts. To put it plainly, the director had been paying himself more than the business sustained. In
Yeah.
order to do that, he was just borrowing money, and he was borrowing more and more money as the
Mhm.
business, putting personal guarantees on it. So he's now hit the point really where the business is doing enough to run the business and service the debt, but it can go nowhere else. So prior to Harbour Club, I would have taken one look at that and gone, no, I can't do anything with that. But because of doing Harbour Club, but also a specific person I met, Mark Masiak, who I'm joint venturing on with that, we actually have an opportunity to fix the business and get it into decent shape. So Mark's come on board to essentially remove the director's guarantees. So he's signed 100% of the business over to us, which is the first stage of Mark's process. He's removing the personal guarantees. In about 6 months' time, we'll actually have a solid little business generating not far 50% profit.
Yeah, yeah. For people watching who don't know, Mark runs a personal guarantee removal service for the Harbour Club. We have a Harbour Club debt collection service and a Harbour Club personal guarantee removal service, and those two things together are quite a powerful, powerful little tool. So was it pretty much we'll get you off the guarantees, give us the business for that deal?
That's about the size of it. Yeah, we're removing all the debt. He's coming on board as an employee. We are going to give him some equity in the future in the new business because he is.
Yep.
It's interesting. His connections are why the business works, so he needs to be engaged. But at present, we're 100% shareholders. There's no specific number we've committed to in terms of shareholding that he's going to get in the future.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, that makes sense. And then the plan with that one, what sort of size is it?
That one, it's doing about sort of 400,000 turnover, so it's not very big, but it's doing about 200,000 in debt repayments. So it's actually
Right.
it's
Okay.
a business
So
once you
that's
move the debt repayments.
arguably 200 grand of profit then when it's
Oh yeah,
cleaned up. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. The plan with that is I'm actually looking to grow a group of recruitment companies. So I mentioned to you that I've done another deal with a recruitment company here in the Northeast. That's a larger one, they're doing 1.8 million. But ironically, GP is about the same. It's not radically different because they're more focused on temps, which is much more.
Yeah.
But I'm looking to bring several together and add some value. I'm going through the whole financial engineering that I learned on Harbour Club, and
Yeah.
I've already seen it make a massive difference. Another person I'm working with is Charles Bell.
Okay.
With the other recruitment company, he's going to be adding about £100,000 of profit in the first year, which on a business that did, again, a couple of 100,000, that's like a 50% uplift in profit straight
Yeah.
away.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, what would your advice be then to other Harbour Clubbers? It sounds like partnering is quite high on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely working for me. I gave some thought to this because I had a suspicion you might ask me that question.
Yeah.
One thing that has definitely worked for me is absolute consistency of outreach. It's something that you mentioned on the course. You said it's not about setting yourself big targets, about a habit of doing a certain amount of outreach, a certain amount of prospecting every day. I've done that absolutely religiously, and that's where the opportunities are coming from. I'm probably helped in that sense, in that my background is digital marketing. I'm finding the opportunities. I'm not finding difficult, because this is something that I've essentially done lead generation for most of my career. So I'm finding that quite straightforward. What I've done, and this would be a good piece of advice for anyone who's struggling for time, and a lot of the people I've talked to on my course who haven't done deals yet, every time I talk to them, they tell me, oh, I'm really struggling for time. I'm trying to get some letters out. And the only thing I've done differently to them is lots and lots of outreach, reaching out to lots of business owners. One thing that's really helped me is I'm quite used to setting up kind of offshore virtual assistant type services. It's something I've always done in my marketing work. So I've now got all of my outreach being done by a couple of guys in the Philippines. So I don't have to touch that. All I get is every day, 4, 5, 6 different people dropping through that are open to a conversation. And then my time spent talking to them, identifying the ones I want to take forward. So the 2 bits of advice I would give on that is be consistent in the outreach. If you don't send out letters, if you don't send out LinkedIn requests, if you don't message people, you're literally not going to get anything. No one's going to just arrive at your door and say, do you want to buy my business for £1? So be consistent. And if you're struggling for time, think about outsourcing that part.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. And time's always a slightly odd one, isn't it? Because people seem to find time for the things they want to find time for. So, the people complaining about not having any time are also bang up to date on the latest Netflix TV series or something else that clearly more important. But I mean, actually, I find now I've gone kind of obviously for the last 10 years pure deal making. So I haven't run my own business now since 2006. So yes, it's even longer than 10 years now. Since I've gone to the full deal making, I actually find I have tons and tons of time. So obviously, I think doing deals is kind of feast or famine. You're really, really busy.
Yeah.
Or you literally have nothing to do. You're just waiting for outcomes from, you've set all of the horses on, off to race, and it's just a question of now sitting back and letting it kind of come to fruition. So yeah, I find you have lots of these kind of this dead time, which you have to be careful because it can be quite corrosive as well, having nothing to do. So,
I think you said you feel a lot of that with sailing though.
Well, yeah. So yeah, you get into expensive hobbies. That's one of the things that is always a pain. But you get to spend lots more time with your kids, which is good. So that's kind of nice. And we travel a lot with our extra time. But yeah, it is. It does seem to be feast or famine. So it'll be dead quiet, and then crazy night and day, no time off. Busy, and then all stops again. So it's a different lifestyle. A different approach. So, but no, that's really good advice. Yeah. Either find the time or get someone else. Leverage your time by getting other people to do the more process-driven aspects of it, because the sourcing is quite process-driven, and I think that's what puts some people off it, because it's that it's that slightly mundane end of it. You just want to be talking to excited people, But
that's always way more fun, sitting down and sort of running through a list of businesses, taking a look at their published accounts, sending them messages in the knowledge that 80-ish% of them, 85% aren't going to come back to you. That's very boring, but you don't do that bit, none of the exciting stuff afterwards comes.
Indeed, and what I always say to people is, look, the juice is worth the squeeze. Quite often when people are running a business, they'll go to those lengths to sell someone a product for $500 or $1,000. Whereas this is a 6 or 7 figure outcome. It's worth putting the same time and attention into as you would to sell any other product or service. So I think when people frame it like that, it's worth the juice is worth the squeeze. No, that's really good advice. So obviously, outsourcing, getting on with it, partnering, we've already touched on. And I guess, in your situation, obviously, once you've bought these companies, what's your plan with them? Obviously, you mentioned with the recruitment company, you want to acquire some more. So bit of a recruitment roll-up?
Yeah, that's exactly the plan. That's something else I really got from Harbour Club, and I'm working with a partner of mine that we've worked together for about 10 years in the marketing agencies that I've built previously. So we've got a long relationship, and I told her what you'd said about, like, just don't tinker in the business, get on, do the financial engineering and sell it. And I was like, it makes a good point, but I don't think I'd find that as satisfying. I like to do the entrepreneurial thing. I'm going to do this, and this. And she said, Tom, if you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to do one deal. You're going to get caught up in the business. You're going to be a year from now running the business, having not done any more deals. So actually, that was a seismic shift in my thinking. To say actually what I want to do. I think I'm throwing your words back at you here, but the best time to sell your business is now. So my plan is get several of these recruitment businesses together as quickly as I possibly can, and then move them on. That's the game plan.
Yeah.
My thinking is,
get the capital event.
Beautiful. So putting several together, I can add quite a lot of value just by putting several together. I don't need to do anything much else other than the financial engineering.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's spot on. Well, it sounds like with current one doing a couple of $100,000 once the restructuring's finished, plus the new one doing about $300,000, $500,000 of net profit is actually quite a sellable value. Kind of you're just in the beginning of when it becomes appealing for people to acquire it. So yeah, I mean, you could even start selling it even with just those two together. Have it for sale at least.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. And I mean, one of the other things I'm quite keen to do, because I don't have a background in recruitment, the only sector I can't work in is digital, because I've about 4 months ago
in that space. Yeah.
So I'm not allowed to play in that space for 2 years. So about 18 months left to go. One of the other things I'm quite interested in, we've talked about partnerships. I've looked at what I'm good at. I'm definitely good at finding opportunities and that process driven side of thing. I'm very comfortable with the business owners as well. So I'm very comfortable with the close. I've kind of taken another piece of advice that you've given, which is to stay on your kind of home turf. Look at the things that businesses that you're going to do the deal because you know the industry and you can be confident in that space. One of the other things I've considered doing is trying to partner with other Harbour Clubbers who have experience in a sector. Not necessarily people who've done a lot of deals, but someone who, so for example, I wouldn't touch an engineering company because I don't understand how they work. I'd love to work with Harbour Clubbers who do have that background. I'm happy to go out and find the opportunities, and we can kind of do deals together. So partnering is a big part of my thinking moving forward as well. Yeah,
fantastic. Well, that sounds great. And you're finding the community quite useful to lean on, because I'm guessing Mark and were Mark and Charles both at your event, or did you meet them subsequently?
Mark was at the event, so that's how I knew about his offering. But I used the app to contact him. Charles, I'd never actually met in person. We connected through the app. And the Harbour Club community is a really good one for signposting you to people who can help. I've not had a chance to work with him yet, but I've met a fantastic guy on LBOs. So if I do turn up some of those LBO opportunities that I'd like to do, I've got a Harbour Club that I can partner with there. So yeah, it's a really good way of kind of building a community. And I love the app. I've used it a lot.
Yeah. No, it's very slick, isn't it? So Tinder for deals.
It's lovely that there's so many people who all are really interested in doing this. We had a really interesting conversation on my course. There was a guy who said, "Are you not worried that we're all going to be running around looking for the same deals? We're just going to keep tripping over ourselves." But I said, what the lovely thing about Harbour Club is, if you think about the population of the world, almost nobody in the world actually wants to start a business, or certainly will start a business. And then you take the people who actually want to run a business, and the portion of them that are thinking of actually buying a business rather than just starting it from scratch are tiny. And then you look at the people who want deals, the portion of them that are using Harbour Club methods is tinier still. So there's a tiny little pool of us, but actually through Harbour Club, we're all chucked in together and we can help each other. So it's really nice.
Absolutely. There was a great twist on that I heard down in the Southern group. So one of the get-together groups. I don't know if you joined one of those yet, but the groups that meet up on a regular basis. Yeah. So the Southern group, they when they meet up, they hand around their dead deals. So the ones that have gone cold and died, they say, right, who would like to look at an engineering company? this is what the guy's done. This is the this was the challenge. This was the deal I put to them, and it didn't go ahead, I think, for these reasons. So someone else can then go back into that same deal and with all of that inside knowledge and basically have another crack at it. And I think it's a really good idea, because it might have failed because of rapport, or just they didn't like the way the deal was positioned, and so went cold. And so with a slight tweak, it could work. Yeah, it's just a really nice kind of way of maximizing it. So actually, you can have a benefit in having lots of people running around instead of a handicap. But yeah.
Sounds like I have to buy myself some train tickets and come down for the Southern Group meet.
Yeah, are you in one up in your neck of the woods, or have you joined one of the mastermind?
Yes, the nearest one to me is in Manchester, I think, and I'm in Newcastle, so that's about sort of 3 hours.
That's quite a long way.
So
Yeah, there's quite a few of you up in the northeast on the quiet, so it probably would be worth getting a group together up there.
No, I should do that. I have actually, one of the other nice things of the app, you can see Harbour Club is near to you. So I know there's about 500 people who are active in the app who are near me. So yeah, I should do that.
Well, if you reach out to Wayne, you can set up your own group. No Mackhams.
No, obviously not. I shouldn't say that, actually. I'll do that.
I am joking. But you could set up a little group up there. In fact, there's some Harbour Clubbers from Durham from years back. I remember from 2009, there was a Harbour Clubber from Durham who actually reached out to me just the other day because he just sold the company. But I don't think he's on the app. So, but I'll try and get him involved. I'll let him know about the app.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, Durham's quite close to me.
That'd
be good.
Excellent. Great. Well, really, really lovely to speak to you. I'll stop the recording there.